There are tales littered all across the wasteland. Some speak of a man who navigated his way from Appalachia to Utah and made friends with the father of the caves. Some caravans mention a traveling mutant merchant who hosts a meat barbecue every year, and others speak of a family that's been alive for almost 500 years. Are these just radiation poisoned brains conjuring up these myths, or is there some truth to them? Only you can decide, as we step into the haze of Wasteland's legends. Before the bombs, I had an amazing life. I went to school and at the age of 16 decided to be homeschooled due to the growing prices of gas and my parents not being able to afford a fusion-powered car, along with us living on a remote ranch near the pre-war town of Jerome in the heart of Arizona. This was a nice place before the war, as it allowed me to become a decent outdoorsman and really allowed me to hone in on my marksmanship ability and other skills that would prove to be valuable in an apocalypse, such as being able to ride horses. But nothing lasts forever. When I was nearing the age of 18, the world was scorched by atomic flames, the oceans boiled, and the flora and fauna were tainted by radiation. Thank God we were spared the immediate horrors of the nuclear holocaust due to our remote location. But with every positive, there's a negative. The ranch we worked on was eventually unstable due to marauder attacks. I was able to keep my family defended, as well as gain more experience with weapons, specifically my modified service rifle. Eventually, we decided to head out, with as much as we could carry on our horses and an old diesel truck we had. We then headed west to California, in search of a stable civilization, one that wasn't constantly being raided and burned to the ground. While the journey wasn't really interesting for the most part, besides Vegas and the occasional raider attack, I did find something notable that was being shipped from an unknown Air Force base in Nevada to a place I later found out to be called Mariposa Military Base. While dodging dead bodies of scavengers, I noticed something that hadn't been looted yet, a military crate. The crate was pretty lacking in detail besides a radiation symbol on it, but I ignored it due to starvation. It was about the size of your standard military crate and had 3 latches on it. It was in my desperation and hope for a package of MREs that I made my next move. And before you call me stupid, if you've ever walked 10 miles in a single day carrying gear and getting pounded by the desert sun, you'd understand why I would just open it up without thinking about it. As soon as I opened the crate, I could tell it wasn't what I was hoping for. When I opened the package, a bright blue light, much like a Nuka-Cola Quantum, flooded my eyes, and I passed out. While unconscious, my parents and the other survivors that were traveling with us quickly found me near the military convoy I was looting, and upon seeing me, they thought I was dead. They wasted no time in helping me, and as soon as I and the crate were picked up, they began desperately looking for a shelter. But instead, they came across something far better. A bunch of soldiers wearing T-51B that were out on a patrol nearby the convoy. They all held up their hands and weapons in attempts to show they weren't hostile, and began shouting for them to help. When the soldiers got closer, they told them what happened, and asked for assistance. The soldiers were extremely reluctant in helping until they saw the Pip-Boy on my arm and the military crate. My mom, who was a nurse before the war, told them that as long as she had the equipment, she could get me awake, and hopefully back to normal. They then led us to a small concrete building in the middle of the open California desert that was surrounded by a fence and contained an elevator that led to a massive interior. After about a week, I awoke, and after learning what happened, the Brotherhood confiscated my Pip-Boy I found along the way and wiped it clean of all information, reset it, and gave it back to me, and told me that it now had a Brotherhood tracker and data monitor installed into it. The Brotherhood then informed me that the crate I found held an extremely radioactive device that they now were using to study and power the bunker. I asked them if I was going to die or turn into a ghoul, but they said they honestly had no idea, and that I should have died. After this discovery, the Brotherhood began running experiments on me. Nothing harmful, but just to try to see what happened. Unfortunately, they weren't very successful. I later came to realize that I pretty much did become a ghoul, without the negative of rotting, and without the positive of radiation immunity. I also found out that I stopped showing signs of aging at around 25. Now back to the Brotherhood. Because I found the solution to power their bunker, and my mom's medical skills, they offered us to join them. We obviously did, and while the Brotherhood and I didn't see eye to eye on everything, I did learn and gain very valuable lessons, information, and many skills. such as training with most weapons, how to properly use power armor, and how to repair and salvage anything from a broken clock to a malfunctioning sentry bot. However, despite my immense gratitude for the Brotherhood, I wanted something more, something I could call my own, people to help, and most importantly, to rebuild America. That's when I convinced some members of the Brotherhood to journey with me to a place where we received transmissions from, a place where a new Brotherhood was forming, Appalachia. When talking to Maxon about it, I told him that it would be the only way for the Brotherhood to grow. He agreed, either out of understanding or my persistent begging. We gathered many scribes, knights, and paladins. I was also granted the rank of elder of my own division, known as the Lost Hills Expansion Force. Back at Lost Hills, I was still known as a paladin, and my rank of elder was only recognized in my division. The Lost Hills Expansion Force, which included my brother and sister, prepared for the trip, and with everything ready, we said our goodbyes to our friends and families, and began one of the most dangerous trips of our lives. We arrived in Appalachia after a year of hardships, but were pleasantly surprised to see that there were people rebuilding and uniting, and it seemed to be that the residents of Vault 76 were to thank. I have already documented in more detail in another holotape of our less than ideal arrival that you can watch in the description of this holotape. After setting and redesigning a vault, fortifying some underground caves, and building outposts all around Appalachia, we eventually made contact with the Brotherhood 1st Expeditionary Force, and forced out the paladin who went rogue and became a traitor. While I was enraged by her betrayal of Lost Hills, and her ignorant destruction of our chance to communicate with them, I was inspired by her want to help people, and I found it necessary to provide information to survivors so that they too could live a great life, not just in Appalachia, but as far as radio waves and holotapes could reach. And so I began my work of spreading tales all across the wasteland. It was at this point in my life that I truly felt that I was doing my life's work, telling stories, documenting technological information, sharing tips on survival, providing refuge through my bases, and sharing wasteland recipes. While broadcasting and making holotapes of these legends, I made a new friend, a man known as Navigator, who was able to get to Utah from Appalachia, all on his own. His name was fitting, but not only was he an excellent survivalist, but a great friend who had experience in broadcasting, which he gladly shared with me and helped me to truly grow as a voice in this desolate, war-torn hellscape. We would make some great memories together as we helped guide and document the people that called this old world wasteland home. While this is the end of my story on getting and settling in Appalachia, it is certainly not the end of me, Wastelord, for I plan on documenting many more tales throughout the wastes. I still have some more odd stories of my journey here, and my expedition to a place that is much like hell, with constant burning, demons, and non-stop suffering, that I will share in the future here, if I don't catch a stray bullet, that is. And before we all leave the campfire, I would like to say a special thank you to all of my friends that have helped me in my stay in Appalachia, specifically Dark 80, Derpy Lombax, and the Brotherhood of Steel Genesis members, Navigator, Slayer, Nukaboss, and Nukapug. Thank you all for helping me, whether it be me getting downed and you rezzing me with a stim pack, or just giving me something that really helped my stay be a little easier. Thank you all so much, and may the ashes of America treat you with peace and prosperity.